Hello, everybody. We are live today. This is my first live after a very, very long hiatus. I feel like the last live I did was maybe sometime last year, I want to say. Now, I want to make sure while I'm talking, I'm not spending the next 30 minutes talking to myself. So if you can hear me, if you can see me, please do post it in the chat below because it helps me know that my audience can actually hear what I'm saying. Kind of useful. I'm just going to double check on LinkedIn as well and on YouTube to make sure that everybody can see what it is that I'm saying. And if you're tuning in here, please do let me know, where are you tuning in from? Where are you showing up from? How did I reach you from where I am to where you are? It helps me connect with my audience much better as well. And we'll get started very, very shortly. My agenda for today is to teach you some tricks and tips about speaking on the spot. Now, I know speaking on the spot in particular is one of those areas that most people are absolutely terrified by. Why? You're not really prepared. You don't have any material. You don't quite know what to say. And that aspect of uncertainty makes it really, really difficult to have confidence when you speak. I'm seeing some comments. Sudeepa, thank you so much for joining in. Sammy, loving the blue background. By the way, people ask me about this blue background all the time. Like, how do you get the effect in the background? I literally have two lights that are pointed at the wall that just make it look blue. That's all it is. There's no fancy effects, nothing like that, right? So thank you for dropping by, both of you, and hopefully more people should join in as well. Back to what we we're talking about. Today's focus is going to be specifically on tech professionals and how you can talk on the spot with confidence. Now, if you go to my LinkedIn profile, the first thing you'll notice is I am not an engineer. I don't have a technical background at all. So why should I talk about technical people and how they can get better at speaking? When I was starting my business, it just so happened that one of the first clients that I had was someone who worked as a manager at Apple. And when I received that, I thought, oh my God, I got a client from Apple, unbelievable. And I was coaching them on sales skills. I was coaching them on negotiation at the time. And they got so much value out of it that they actually signed on for much longer coaching. Now, as I continue teaching people, I noticed I started getting clients from TikTok. I got clients from Amazon. I got clients from Microsoft, Snapchat. And now my entire portfolio is just people from tech. And I was wondering, why are so many people coming to me when I don't have a tech background, when I don't have an engineering background? And the answer is this: a lot of people, when they're presenting ideas to other people who think like they do, they say things in line with what those people want to hear. But when they speak outside their organization, outside their team, and they're speaking, a lot of other people don't have any idea what the heck they're talking about. Okay, so when I come in as an outsider and I'm listening to a tech presentation or a tech demo, it doesn't make sense to me. So I can see from the outside in of, okay, if you're talking to anybody outside your team, is this going to make sense? So what I wanted to do today is to give you some tips on how to talk on the spot, how to talk in a way where most people understand what you say. And I'm going to list down some of the things that most tech people make mistakes on. Believe me, I have, how many clients do we have in tech right now? At least 43 clients that we worked with this year from tech who said pretty much the same thing. So we're going to talk about that. Before we get into it, I just want to announce a masterclass that I've got coming up. It's next Tuesday, exactly 7 days from now. If you like what you hear today and you want more of it, you want a 2-hour free training on how to speak better on the spot, how to get rid of your ums and uhs, how to actually get your boss to take you seriously, and how not to be afraid of speaking up at work. I know a lot of people struggle with that. That is something I'm going to dive very, very deep into next Tuesday. So if you're interested, you can check that out at speakingbetter.ca. I'm going to post a quick link as well in case people can access it. We're going to do that next Tuesday. And hopefully I'm going to show you some tips and tricks that you can actually take away from it and use. It's completely free. And for people who join, you also get an entire year of free speaking tips from myself and my co-coach, Sammy. So with that out of the way, let's get started right away. One of the clients that I started working with, this person owns, let's just say, a multi-million-dollar tech startup that just completely blew up, right? This person is a trained engineer. They came to me saying, Yasser, I don't feel comfortable speaking in front of people when I'm asking them to invest in my business. Now, this person is a trained engineer. They think like an engineer. They've worked at some of the top tech companies in the world. When they go to present, there's so much technical jargon that people outside the engineering world do not understand what they're saying. So at the time, I didn't know that, right? So he came to me and said, "Hey, let me do a mock presentation for you and you tell me what you think." I said, "Great." I listened to him for about 8 minutes out of the 30 minutes that was planned. And I said, "I'm sorry, but we have to stop here. I have no idea what you are talking about." So he said, "Okay, yeah, but these things engineers understand. This part my developing team understands. This is something that my colleague and I worked on." I said, "Completely fine. Is this an internal meeting or are you speaking to external stakeholders who might not understand that?" And he said, "Well, there's going to be politicians there. There's going to be state officials there. There's going to be city officials there. And there might be some people from the sales team and the marketing team." I said, "Okay, I understand. How many of those people understand the technical jargon you're talking about?" And I promise he paused for about 30 seconds trying to come up with anybody who would understand what he's saying. Now, if you think this is out of the ordinary, I can tell you this happens to me every single day when I'm dealing with my clients. They speak in a way where it is so technical that most people do not understand the context of what they're speaking. So my first tip would be to simplify your language so that people who are not in the audience that you talk to every single day understand. If you can explain a concept to a 6-year-old, that means that you can explain it to a lot of other people too. So challenge yourself. How can I take a very, very complex idea and simplify it? One really easy way to do this is to use analogies. Why? Because when you have a very technical concept that no one understands and you're trying to pick your brain into it, you're trying to think of many different things that you can talk about, most people won't understand it, so they'll either give up or they'll tune out. But if you then talk about some sort of analogy that people do understand and you make the connection between the two, now they'll understand. So I'll give you an example of someone who explained accountability to me, right? So my fitness coach, I've been working with him for quite a few months, and I've done a lot of fitness programs in the past. I've done a lot of coaching, a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of books that I've read. But the problem is I never got the results. Never, right? So my fitness coach said, the reason you're not getting results is not because of the courses or the coaching, is because you don't have accountability. Let me ask you this. If I gave you the perfect diet plan and the perfect workout plan and told you to just go and do it for the next 6 months, how likely are you to get in shape in the next 6 months by yourself? And I said, probably not likely at all. He said, well, you know the information. You know the things you have to do. You just won't do the thing. That's my job as a coach, to hold you accountable. And that analogy made me understand the importance of accountability, right? Because he explained it in a way that was very easy for me to understand. Another example is I give this example to my clients, right? They don't associate speaking skills like any other skill. They say, okay, I'm not a good speaker. I'm an introvert. I'm not an extrovert. I'm not a confident speaker. They put all these labels on themselves, and that restricts their learning process. So I have to tell them, listen, learning to speak is a lot like learning to ride a bicycle. The first time you ever got on a bicycle, you probably fell off. You didn't know how to balance it properly, and you got very discouraged because all of your friends could ride the bike, but you couldn't. But as you started doing more and more of it, you learned this is where I should put my foot. This is how I should pedal. This is how fast I should go. This is how I should balance myself. And through repetition over time, you learn to ride the bicycle. And now when you see a bike, you don't have to think about getting on and what you should do. You just know how to ride it. Learning to speak is the exact same thing. So now that I've made this analogy between riding a bike and learning to speak, now people understand better what their progress is going to be like when they're learning to speak. Let me know in the comments if this makes sense for you. Let me know if this analogy helped your understanding of knowing what the route to learning would be. So if you're somebody in the tech space, one of the tips that I would give you is to think about, how can I use the fewest possible words to describe what I'm trying to say? This is the second tip we're going into, which is to be really brief. Okay? Why is this a problem? I am working with a very senior client right now, and he works for the company Snap, the company that has Snapchat, the one that made Snapchat. And his challenge is that he has so many details in his head, and he wants to distribute all those details to everybody on his team, that he keeps talking and talking and talking and talking and talking, and he keeps going on and on and on for minutes and minutes and minutes. And by the end of it, people don't know what question to ask. They have no idea if they even understood the question. And because they've been overloaded with information, they don't even remember what to do anymore. Right? Now, I want you to ask yourself this question very honestly, and you could be a tech person, a non-tech person, whatever it might be. When you watch a YouTube video, really engaging YouTube video, or maybe you watch a TED talk, right? Maybe an hour, 2 hours, the next day, how much of it do you remember? How much? Realistically, you remember maybe 5% of it, maybe 2% of it. Maybe you'll remember one central idea. Maybe you'll remember the story or the lesson, but you won't remember 90% of the whole story. So what we try to do, or what tech people try to do, is they take a 30-minute presentation and they try to cram it in 5 minutes. So they take all of the information possible in as little time as possible, and that results in you speaking so fast and giving out so much information because it is essential for you to present it, because you feel it's necessary to present it, but your audience just feels this overwhelming hurricane of information coming at them, and they don't even remember any of it. So let me ask you this question. What is the point of talking about so many things in such little time if you know most of your audience is not going to remember it? Does that make sense? If you knew your audience will forget 90% of what you said, would you have 15 different things you would talk about? Would you have 10 different things you would talk about? No, you would say one single thing and you would say it over and over and over and over again so your audience remembers it. And this is the importance of repetition. This is the importance of having one single message that you can focus around. The problem with most tech presentations and most tech impromptu presentations is that they are not focused. So let's say you're in a meeting right now and someone asks you to present on a certain topic. You might feel like, well, I'm not really sure what to talk about. This is a structure that you can follow that's going to make it easy for you to dial in your thoughts in a way where you know what to say and you don't ramble too long. Okay, there's only 3 points to this. The first point is point, which is your answer. So for example, let's take a non-tech question here. What is your favorite car? The first point will be just your answer. My favorite car is Lamborghini. Okay, so that will be your first one. The second one will be a story, an analogy, or an example of your point. So let's say my favorite car is the Lamborghini, and the reason it's my favorite car is because when I was growing up, I was playing a game called Need for Speed, and my favorite car to drive in that game was a Lamborghini Gallardo, or whatever it was. And then at the end, you want to have the point again. So you want to reiterate what you already said. So for example, this is what the structure would look like. My favorite car is a Lamborghini. The reason it's my favorite car is because when I was growing up, I was playing a game called Need for Speed, and my favorite car there was an orange Lamborghini. And that's why Lamborghinis are my favorite car. Now you see there's like a little bow tie that you tie around your answer at the end because you said the same thing at the start, you said the same thing at the end, and there's this nice flow. There's this nice conclusion to the answer. So let's say your boss asks you a question. Hey, give me some updates on the project. You might think that you want to say 15 different answers. I've done this, I've done that, I've done this, I've done that, but there's no conclusive answer, right? Instead, you could say, the biggest update that I can give you on our project is blank. So the biggest update I can give you is that we secured a new client. We've been working on this client for quite a while. It actually took us 4 weeks to get in touch with them and to finally get them in our sales process. And we're happy to say we're going to be starting with this client starting next Monday. So that will be the biggest update from our project or from this week. You see how it's the same exact structure and it's very, very concise, right? It tells you what they need to know. It tells you what's the most important part, and it reiterates the point because you heard it twice. So when you go into a meeting with your executives, when you go into a meeting with your managers, they don't want to know your entire thought process, right? A lot of engineers, a lot of tech people do this where they explain the entire process to people who don't care about the process. That's why your manager's there. That's why your tech lead is there. That's why your team is there. CEOs, executives, they don't want to hear about the ground level activity. They just want to know quick answers, concise answers about whether you've got it taken care of or not. Okay. So concise answers using a simple structure, point, story, point. And you can practice this. This is one of the things that I train my clients on regularly, where I just teach them take a website like Random Question Generator, and when you see questions, all you have to do is just come up with an answer, come up with a story, come up with an answer. So it'll give you a question like, what's the best place that you've visited recently? The best place that I visited recently is going to be Mexico. The reason I like Mexico is because of all the blue beaches and all the all-inclusive packages that they had, and it was very, very cheap for me to do, and I love doing it. That's why I love going to Mexico. So you can see how you keep practicing these over and over again. It becomes a part of how you speak. And when you learn to speak this way over and over again at work, you are never thrown off, right? Most of us don't know how to speak on the spot. When have you ever been trained how to speak on the spot? Probably never. But if you start with this structure, and by the way, there are a ton more structures that I'll teach more in the masterclass as well. If you just focus on this one to start, it'll give you a good foundation. No matter what question anyone can ask you, hey, what's one thing that you feel like you could do better at work? One thing I feel like I could do better at work is manage my time more effectively so I'm not burning myself out. The reason for that is last year I was working really hard. I was working on 3 projects simultaneously. I was working day in, day out. I couldn't give my family time. And that's why I feel like one of the things that I could get better at is time management. You see how that format fits everything. Point, story, point, point, story, point. So the more you practice it, the better you'll get at this, okay? So this was our second one. We had a first one, simplify things. The second one we had was be really brief. The last one that I want to mention to you, this is probably the one probably the one that most of our clients struggle with the most, which is not knowing how to control their nerves when they speak, okay? So let's say you're speaking to your boss. And by the way, 99% of my clients come to me with this exact problem, which is how do I speak to my boss? How do I speak to my superiors? When I'm speaking to my teammates, when I'm speaking to my colleagues, everything is fine. But the moment you put me in front of my boss, I don't know what to say or I get too anxious. Here's a couple of things that are happening in your head. Let's say you're on a meeting, right? You're probably already nervous because you're anticipating when you're going to speak. Someone asks you a question, your heart starts racing. You get very nervous, right? Then you start remembering everything that you need to say. Then you're wondering if what you're saying is correct. You're self-criticizing. Then you're wondering if other people are criticizing you. Then you're doing the actual speaking. All of these 5 things are happening at the same time in your brain. So what happens? All of this stuff happens in your brain. Everything gets jumbled up. You feel a lot of tension. You feel a lot of nervous. You don't know what you're saying. By the end of it, you've rambled for 2 minutes and no one has any idea what the heck you said. Does that sound familiar? I'm sure it does because I talk to so many tech people every single day. Why is this so important to deal with? It is because it makes you look like you stumble a lot. It makes you look like you're not someone who knows what they're talking about. It makes you look like a deer in headlights. And most importantly, probably why you're watching this, it makes you sound like you're not sure. So how do you speak on the spot when you're not prepared? The best tip I can give you, and this is like 99% of my TikTok videos, is to slow down. Slow down. Why? Not just because we're trying to practice our polish or practice our pacing. The reason that you need to slow down is because it allows you to think. When you try to speak really fast, you're speaking really fast because you're nervous, because you feel any moment in time where you're not talking, people are judging you. So you need to continue talking. This is far from the truth. If you just took more time to relax your nerves while you're speaking, it gives your anxiety more time to spread out. It gives your mind a little bit of time to relax, right? So if I say, hey, my name is Yasser. Today I'm going to be talking about 3 tips about how to do impromptu speaking. It sounds like I'm very, very nervous because I'm trying to get everything out and I'm doing all this. I'm nervous. But if I said, hey, my name is Yasser, and today I'm going to be talking about 3 tips to improve your speaking if you're a tech professional. Which one of those sounds like I'm more control of my emotions? right? Obviously the second one. The person who's in a rush, who's feeling anxiety, you can hear the adrenaline in their voice, the cortisol building up in their brain. You don't see them as confident. So here's a couple of things that happen when you slow down. You slow down, you have more time to think, and you have more time for your anxiety to spread out. You'll find you get the most nervous at the start. And then you're in it for a while, and slowly and slowly and slowly and slowly it'll come down. If you're in a 10-minute presentation, your first 3 to 4 minutes are probably going to be the most anxiety inducing. And then it'll start going down and down and down. So the more you slow down, the more time you take while you speak, the more time your anxiety has to spread out, and you will feel a lot better. The second thing is you won't feel this overwhelm of having to come up with things to say. That's another thing people really struggle with. What should I say? What should I say? What should I say? And they keep thinking of random sentences that don't make sense. There's no structure to their thoughts. Oh, I did this and I also did that. Oh, I forgot to mention I did this and this person said this to me. And you're going in so many different directions that your answer does not have structure. But if you just took some time to think, some time to slow down and say, some of the updates that we have for this week are we have a new client. I also did this work with my colleague. And one of the things that we're really looking forward to is implementing this new project that we've been working on. Doesn't that sound a lot better than I did this, I did that, I did this, rambling all the time? And this happens a lot with people who really want to prove themselves, who are really eager, right? So the best thing that you can do, and if you want to practice this, I would highly recommend taking your phone and just talking about your day. Talk about how you woke up and you had breakfast and you came to this live stream, let's say, okay? Because you don't have to remember the sequence of events. You know the events. You don't have to remember a speech or make a speech. You can just say, hey, I woke up, I had breakfast, I brushed my teeth, or maybe I brushed my teeth, then had breakfast, whichever way you do it, right? And then I came to Yas's live stream. Say that on camera. Then I want you to watch it back and notice, how fast am I going? Do I sound very anxious? Does my body language give it away? Am I hiding my body? Am I really low with my shoulders? What am I doing? And then you can pick one single thing to improve. Now, in this case, do it again, but this time slower and slower and slower. And I challenge you to do this to a point where you feel uncomfortable with how slow you go. Even in my brain right now, these 2-second pauses that I'm taking, they take an eternity, right? So for you, it might seem like, my God, this is so long. But then when you watch it back on video, you'll notice this actually sounds a lot more polished. I sound a lot more composed, okay? So these will be the 3 main tips. If I were to give you some three tips on how to speak on the spot in a way where you come across as less nervous. Number 1, have a structure. Okay, your structure is going to be point, story, point. This will give you a foundation of everything that you want to say, and you'll be very, very concise. That's the second point. Be very brief. You don't have to tell people everything, every thought process that you have. Only tell them what they need to hear. And the last thing will be to slow down. You'll notice some of the best speakers in the world, they really take their time. Now, this is also context dependent. If you are in a meeting where everyone's trying to get their ideas in, it's more of a discussion format, you might need to pick up the pace a little bit. But if you have designated time, like, hey, now it's Sammy's turn, now it's Yasser's turn, now you can take some time to speak, okay? So slow down your speech, you're going to come across as a lot more confident. So let me know in the comments, has this been helpful for you? Again, I am going to be talking a lot more about this in the upcoming masterclass. That's going to be next Tuesday. You can sign up for it at speakingbetter.ca. I really want to talk about things that you can actually use at work, right? If I came in and say, hey, here's how you do a speech, how many tech people are realistically doing a speech right now? Most of the work you're doing is behind the computer. Then you go into a Zoom meeting and you talk to your manager and then you come back. So I want to make sure it's more focused to that. If this has been helpful, please do let me know. Give this a like if this has been helpful. Anju, thank you very much. Where are you coming in from? I'm curious. I'll also take some questions. If you have any questions, let me know, because I genuinely really enjoy speaking, because that's literally my only talent. And I want to spread that to other people. I posted the link again, speakingbetter.ca. If it's not working, let me know. Shoot me a message, and I should have that in your inbox for you. Some of the interesting things that I've noticed that engineers say to me or people in tech say to me is they've got these beliefs about themselves, right? And I'm not talking about people in their 20s. I'm talking about people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, right? I'll share a quick story with you. Thank you very much. Wash hands. I'm guessing is that emoji. I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you so much for tuning in. One of the things that I hear from tech people all the time, and for me, this is a bit of a it's a reminder, but it's also an inspirational story because they come to me looking at me like, okay, here's this guy who's half my age, and he speaks in a way that I want to speak. I wish I had his personality, right? I'm not trying to boast myself here, but this is literally what people say when they watch my TikTok videos. Oh my God, Yasser, I saw your videos. I wish I could speak like you, but I just can't, right? There was a point in time when I didn't speak like me. There was a point in time where I struggled to get my words out. And you can see countless stories of mine that I've shared on LinkedIn and on YouTube. I wasn't always as confident. So they come to me with this mindset of, I'm stuck as this. I'm stuck being less confident. I'm stuck this. I'm stuck that. And every single one of these people, they find something external to place it on. So this could be, I have an accent. That's why I don't speak well. Or I'm new to this country. That's why I don't speak well. Or I wear glasses. I have a beard. I'm wearing a gray shirt. Whatever it might be. There's all these reasons that they have, almost like they've self-diagnosed their own problem, right? And they come to me saying, hey, Yasser, my accent's the reason I'm not confident. I want to fix my accent. And 99% of the time, it's not the accent. I just asked them, if right now you had a better accent right now, would you go into your work meetings and be 100% confident? Yes or no? And they would say no. So, well, right there, it shows me that your problem is not your accent. There's some other problem. And most of the time, the problem is they have never practiced to become a better speaker. Now, if I handed you a tennis racket right now and you had never played tennis, and I told you, okay, go and play a Grand Slam match against Roger Federer, would you be nervous? Obviously, you'd be nervous because you've never done it before. And you have a lot of pressure because other people are looking at you. So when you go to a meeting, when you're speaking in front of superiors and you are not prepared, you have never done any communication training, and there are people judging you, kind of like in a tennis stadium, would you be nervous? Obviously, you'll be nervous. So the only thing is, if you are somebody who's struggling with this, and you haven't actively worked on this, not even by yourself, because there's some things that we just can't do ourselves, right? You can't really look at yourself from an unbiased perspective. You have to ask somebody else and get their expert feedback, right? And I'll give you an example of my fitness coach. When I was working with my fitness coach, I told him, I'm doing all the exercises right. My form is perfect. My diet is perfect. Everything is right. Why am I not making progress? They had me take pictures of all my meals and put it in a Google Drive. I had to do all my workouts in front of them so they could see the form. And the amount of things they pointed out that I was doing wrong was absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous, right? And I thought I was doing everything right. But sometimes you need outside perspective to give you the truth that you can't tell yourself. This is the importance of working with a coach, to hold you accountable and to give you the feedback that you need. So if you're somebody who feels like, I'm an introvert, I don't have confidence, I don't have this, I don't have that, even if it's true, let me ask you this one question. Does it help to remind yourself of that every single day? Does it help to remind yourself, I'm confident, I'm not confident, I can't do this. I'm introverted, I can't do this. I'm shy at work, I can't do this. Does it help to remind yourself that? No, it doesn't. Why don't we get past all these labels that we put on ourselves, realize that there are people who've made an extremely amazing amount of progress in very, very little time. Most of my clients, they've spent 30, 35, 40 years never learning how to speak. And in a matter of 2-3 weeks, they become the best speaker they've ever been. And you can literally go to my LinkedIn recommendation section and you can see it. In fact, even my featured section will have some before and after. Watch those for inspiration. Watch how they spoke before, how they speak now. And it only took like 2 or 3 weeks. So if you could take 2 or 3 weeks of active effort to solve a problem that you've had in your entire life, would that be worth the effort, right? Getting some comments. Love your work. Thank you so much, Anju. I really appreciate it. This is something that's really close to my heart. I do it because I've had this journey myself. I've had some life experiences that have shown me the importance of saying the things that you need to say. Fatma, thank you very much for joining in as well. I appreciate you. And we have Ikra, good job, Yasa. You're amazing. Thank you very much. I appreciate every single one of you. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. Hopefully you've gotten value out of this. If you have, please do give this a like. It really helps broaden the message that I'm trying to spread. If you have some friends who would enjoy this, please let them know as well. And just a quick reminder before we head off, next week on Tuesday, we have another masterclass coming in about how to speak more confidently at work. This is specifically for people who are leaders at work. Maybe you want to get into management. Maybe you are a manager. Not really suitable for people just getting started in corporate, but more people who want to be leaders. So if you found this helpful, please let me know. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you next time. Take care, everybody.